Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. Today I'm talking about the new album from MxPx, Find a Way Home. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that we put together every week, and the Patreon page. Make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me the old thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. So the new album from MxPx is their 11th studio album. It was just released last week, August 25th. And now that I've had a week to sit down and listen to this thing multiple times, kind of wanted to give you my thoughts on the album. This is their second straight self-released album and the follow-up to their 2018 self-titled album, which the self-titled album, it took me a little bit to really kind of get into that album. That's why I didn't want to do a review of this last week. I wanted to sit down, listen to this a bunch of times, and really kind of let all of it sink in. So this album is co-produced by MxPx, their band's manager Tom Chichilla, and Ryan Furlan. Ryan did the mixing and engineering on the album also. I think overall, they did a great job with it. This is probably one of the best produced MxPx albums, really since the early part of the 2000s when they were with A&M Records. It's a great sounding album, and it doesn't really sound overproduced. A lot of the stuff you hear over the last couple of years from a lot of like the newer rock bands, even like bands that have been around for a long time, has some of that overproduced kind of sound to it. There's none of that with this album. I will say it's kind of rare to see a band, 30 years into their career that is still producing music at such a high level. A lot of times, a lot of bands have been around for, several decades. They'll produce good albums, but nothing like quite as great as their earlier stuff. I think the band definitely did that with their 2018 self-titled album. I'd probably put that up as one of my top 5 or 6 MxPx albums. This new album is maybe, I think, just a notch behind that 2018 album, but still really good. With Find a Way Home, I think the band did a great job of constructing an album that longtime skate punk fans are going to enjoy. It's fast, it's fun, it still has that kind of like overarching positive kind of message that a lot of MxPx albums have. It's just a fun album to listen to. The interesting thing about this album, is something that MxPx hasn't done for a long time, is they blended in, I think, a little bit more emo into this album that you really haven't heard over the last probably 20 years in their albums. Well, there's definitely some great tracks on here, and I think some tracks that are going to be really fun, played live. Ready to Rage is a track that, like, right off the bat was probably my favorite track of this album. But there's definitely some misses on this album also. I don't want to paint this as like a perfect kind of album. There's 2 tracks in particular. Cautious Optimistic, which they just released a video for, and Excuse My French are 2 tracks I can probably do without. Like I said, some great tracks on this album. Ready to Rage is probably my favorite track on here. Not Today, I think, is a great way to open up the album. It's a great, like, more traditional, faster kind of punk song. Stay Up All Night, a little more of an emo edge to it. That was the single that they released before the album came out. Ready to Rage is a great track. Undone is another great track. Sunrise is an instrumental track that kind of has this, like, almost, like, late 50s, early 60s kind of rock vibe to it. It's a really great track. But like I said, some great tracks on this album. Definitely some misses also. Musically, I think these songs are really well crafted and put together. I like what they've done over the last couple of albums where they brought in a second guitarist, Chris Atkins. And he definitely adds a different layer to the band that they didn't have earlier in their career. I think it's what has made the difference on the last couple of albums over the stuff that they released previously. But I think the strength of this album is the drum work from Yuri Ruley. If you go back and listen to Yuri's drumming over the entire career of MxPx, I think he's a really, really, really underrated punk rock drummer. I think this is definitely some of the best work he's done. He really shines on this album. So overall, I think it's a really solid album. It's probably the best praise I can give a band 30 years into their career. Still making some really solid music. There's some stuff I can do without on the album, but there's definitely some high points on here. As far as like rating wise, I kind of go back and forth between like a 7.5 to 8. I'm going to stay with a 7.5 though. I think it's somewhere in the middle of their discography. Not as great as some of those like late 90s, early 2000s albums, but still a pretty damn good album. So if you're interested in grabbing a physical copy of this album, so because it's a self-released album, it's only available on MxPx's website. It's available on CD, it's available on vinyl. Both look and sound fantastic. I will say of the vinyl version of it, though, there's 4 different color variants. Two of them, though, seem to be getting switched a lot. I don't know if it's all of it or if it's just a select few, but there's a Galaxy and a Nebula version of the album. And it looks like they're being, the stickers on them are reversed, so people are ordering Galaxy and getting Nebula, people are ordering Nebula and getting Galaxy. So I guess if you're going to order it through the website and you want only one of those, you might want to put a comment in there, make sure you're getting the correct one. And the vinyl version of it actually has two different covers. You've got a standard cover, which this is going to be on the digital version also. This is the main cover that you're going to see everywhere. That's for 3 of the 4 different color variants. And then the fourth one is a limited edition. It's on red splatter vinyl, which looks really cool. And then this actually has a die-cut cover, and the moon actually comes out. It's on an insert and comes out and flips around. It has a different picture that you can flip around and show on the cover. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know if you've checked out this album, what you think of it. My opinion of it might change over the next year or two, but we'll see how it goes. Let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.